Welcome back, weirdos. Today we are going to do something I said I was never going to do, which was make a guide on how to get your legendary items. It's really important now though because the legendary servers Angmar and Mordor have just released the Mines of Moria expansion. So the big question is, what is a legendary item and how do I get it? I will let you know, but first, if you could please ever so kindly hit that subscribe button if you want more LOTRO basics and guides. So let's discuss what a legendary item is first. So you know how you're getting all of your weapons in game. Obviously, every class has different weapons that they can utilize, but you do have basic armor and sometimes stats on those weapons. But what if you could customize your stats and more or less just customize your weapon altogether? Well, you can actually do that in LOTRO, but the big thing about this is you can customize whatever stats you want to focus on for your damage and just your weapons in general. Now that we've covered sort of what legendary items are and why they're just significantly better than going to a vendor or even crafting your own weapons for the most part, now let's explain how the heck do you get it? Well, you have to do the main story quest. But just to tell you, if you do end up going for your legendary item, make sure you have completed the Volume 1 Angmar story if you really want to see how all of that plays out. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a really cool story. I do not recommend missing it at all. If you can avoid it, it's a great storyline. But in order to get your legendary item, it does start with Volume 2 of your main story quest. So this is pretty much where the Moria expansion comes in, Volume 2. So that means that we have to start at the very beginning of Volume 2. But where is that? I'm going to show you. So I am currently right outside of the Mines of Moria, or the Gates of Moria. And in fact, where exactly I am, let me show you guys on my map. We are in Eregion, which is right outside of Rivendell. It's an area door. And pretty much if you go through like Lone Lands, you go to the Trollshalls. And when you go through Trollshalls, you go down very, very far south and you get to Eregion. Where exactly we are in Eregion, we are further along at Echid Dunnen, I believe, or Dunen. It is at the coordinates of 50.7 south, 8.0 west. Mark that down. That is where you'll get your first quest, where this nice old kind dwarf here is sitting here waiting for us. He is the one that you have to pick up the Volume 2, Book 1, Chapter 1 quest in order to gain access into Moria, but also to get your legendary weapon. So let's just quickly talk to him. So you gotta start Book 1, Chapter 1 of Volume 2, like I mentioned, and you're gonna have to go through all of these quests. But what I'm going to note about this is that there are quite a few chapters to get through just to get your legendary weapon. Pretty much what's going to happen is we are going to go into this little instance area that's right over here. We're going to have a couple of side quests to do, some just small things to kind of work through. Nothing too crazy in the story, but you're basically working towards getting access into Moria by more or less clearing the pathway to get to the gate. So this is Book 1, Chapter 1 of Volume 2. Like I have mentioned, I want to make that very clear. So you'll just accept this, but you will have to go through into this instance area, which I will quickly do, and you will have to run through a lot of quests. And I mean, like, not that many quests. Like, it could probably take you like an hour, maybe 2 at most. It's not that long, but like it's a good amount of time to set aside. So make sure you run through them, and then I'll come back once I've run through them myself and I'll show you exactly where you'll get your legendary item. Also, real quickly, you have to be a minimum of level 45 in order to even get this quest. So make sure you are at minimum level 45. You get that? Level 45. Level 45 earliest, but I do recommend you are level 50 when you get your legendary weapon, just because you should go into Moria at around 50 and it just makes it a little bit easier. But earliest you can be in the story, you have to be level 45. Okay, so that actually took way less time than what I thought. I am now up to chapter 9 on these quests. So pretty much what happened is you have to do a lot of quests in the instance phase, but pretty much when you get into an actual instance where it's nighttime and you know what appears, if you know, you know, then once you've completed that quest, you will have chapter 9, which is where you can see that you'll get one of your legendary items of your choice, which I am a guardian, so they are specifically only giving me guardian options. But what this is, and what I'll go into a little bit later, is this is a word of mastery, or better well known as like a tracery. This is something that you pretty much are going to equip or customize into your legendary item once we get to that phase. But first, we're gonna have to pick up this quest and go follow the rules for that. So I'm gonna go do that real quick. And sweet, just like that, we get to choose what legendary item we want. A great sword. I do kind of want a two-handed sword, not gonna lie. This is an older character that did not go by the two-handed guard rules, and I so recommend a two-handed guard for solo play. So I'm gonna go with a great sword. Let's go with a great sword. So now we are going to have to go to Rivendell, or better yet, we're going to go into a library where you will visit often. You will pretty much reforge, rework, and even customize your legendary weapon. You'll be there quite a lot going forward into even max level, so it's a very important place to be. Okay, scratch that real quick. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to the Forges of Rivendell, but we will eventually get to the library, so let me show you that in a moment. Okay, so I did get a bit ahead of myself. We actually don't have access to the library yet, but we will actually relatively soon. But what I would recommend for everyone, and kind of what I have done, is that you will go to Rivendell. You're going to go to the Forges, and when you're at the Forges, you'll actually get to pick one of your Herald Traceries, or heraldic traceries, and those you get to choose which one you want. You'll just have to look at the stats and choose what is best for you. If you don't know what stats you should be looking for on your class, you can leave a comment down below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can to give you some insight on what I personally suggest. But it depends on each class, and it depends on what you need to upgrade. But I am about to go jump into chapter 12. Once we do chapter 12 though, this should give us access to Moria, and it also should give us access to the library back in Rivendell, where we can actually add or replace a few things if needed. And I'll show you more about how to slot everything once we get there. Hey, let's go. I did another quest and got another freaking word of mastery, or tracery. I love that for us. So right now, just as a recap, we should have 2 traceries, which these are the more customizable portions that you'll be able to do for certain skills. We should have some sort of enhancement runes, which pretty much level up your traceries, which I'll get into in a bit, and then also a heraldic tracery. And now it looks like we are about to do the final quest, and we're going to get a secondary item, legendary, for your class, because you can have 2 legendary items. For me, I'm probably going to have the Guardian's Belt because I'm a Guardian. That's my pocket item. But as you can see, it'll clearly depend on whatever your class is. So let's go do that. So good, man. I'm so pumped for Moria, guys. Oh my gosh. So happy we're finally getting the Moria expansion on the legendaries. This is it! We have access to Moria! Let's go! Let's get in there! Oh heck yeah, dude. This is like prime LOTRO time. I love getting into Moria. It's so exciting. Alright, so I'm gonna grab my Guardian's Belt here. And just like that, I have completed all of the Volume 1 chapters for the legendary. There are still obviously more class story to do, which I'm pretty sure Tolk has for me, but I'm too low leveled to get it, so you probably have to be about level 50 or so to get it. I could be wrong on that, but that's more about story quest anyway. So I did complete the prereqs, or pretty much like the basic of the story quest, to get access into Moria and also get my legendary item. So now that we've done that, Now let's go see if we can have access into that dang library, because I need to show you guys everything, and all of the wisdom and knowledge always lies in Elrond's house. So let's go say hi. Okay, so we have entered the last homely house. We are going on the left side, and we are making our way up the stairs into the library, which is right underneath the stairwell right here. And this is the library, everyone. Like I said, this is on the second floor on the left for your legendary items. This is essentially like your go-to place. First thing that you'll want to look at is where your traceries are. So my guardian traceries are over here. There's champions, captains, brawlers, lore master, rune keeper. This small room here is basically like where your, we'll say like specialty, or sort of like your one-time buys are at. So your heraldic traceries, you'll get a word of craft later on, and word of power. And then here are the rest of the class ones. They are on the other side of the room, the main room here. Let's first take a look at the legendary weapons and class items vendor here. So there's barter and then legendary item forge, which we will get to in a second here. But the barter items, if you ever say like you deleted your legendary item, you're like, oh my gosh, I lost it, you'll be able to at least see it, or maybe even change your item, or if you need an additional pair of legendary weapons, you can buy some more here. The thing that you need to trade it with, though, is called ancient script. Where do you get ancient script? Well, you can get ancient script from the reward track, which I will get into in a second. Unfortunately, if you go to your wallet, it is capped, which I am actually at the capped of ancient scripts. You can only hold 10,000 at a time, so that really pretty much just makes it that you are really upgrading your weapons and you're not holding all of your, like, I guess, materials or script here. So make sure you are spending your ancient script. This is what you will need to buy additional traceries, just like your herald traceries, your word of craft, and also your word of power will also need ancient script in order to be purchased. So that is very critical currency that you will see going forward into the game. But before we can do any of that, before we slot anything in, let's also go to your open legendary item forge. Now, this is where you can reforge your item, or more or less when you out-level your item, because that can happen often. You'll want to reforge it, which will increase just the general base stats on it, but you can also rename your item to whatever you want to name it. So I don't know, we'll just call it like weird sword. Why not that? But it can be costly to reforge your item. This is a lot of silver, so I'll just reforge it. But as it says here, all tracery slots can be upgraded to level 52, and a new slot has been unlocked. Now that will essentially mean that I can add more traceries on to my weapon, which the higher you get in level, the higher you reforge your weapon, the more traceries you will have. And yes, you will have like a frick ton. You'll have like a whole long page worth of traceries to get through, or more things that will customize and upgrade your skills and stats in general. And then don't forget to also reforge your secondary item as well. So I'll just say weird belt. I know, I'm so original, right? So we have done that. Now let's do the craziest thing ever, and let's equip our legendary item. So you're just gonna do it like you do anything. You're gonna right click it and boom, I have a two-handed weapon because that's what I chose, but obviously I could have like kept my shield and had a one-handed weapon. Yes, and then my belt shall also be equipped. Boom, just like that, goes into your weapon slots. So I am all set there. Now that we are here though, you can see that I have a plus 152 incoming healing rating. Nice for a belt. And I also have a plus 2% parry chance, but you're probably like, bro, this is not as good as my other weapon stats because, you know, you have like might and vitality and stuff. That's where these traceries come into play. So what you're gonna do, the quickest way that I do it, in order to access this legendary weapon menu, you're gonna hit shift and then double left click on your mouse. That's the best way I've been able to get into it. It's not like the easiest keybind to know about, but it is effective. Once you are able to get into this menu, you can see that this is where you can slot and unslot traceries. Just for the sake of, I guess, mindset, just go in assuming that whatever tracery you slot, you're probably sticking with it for a while. This heraldry of the lion, I'm probably going to have this for some time, unless I can find one that's a higher level, have better stats, etc. But if you mess up, like, there's really no good way to take out your traceries. Basically, just be really careful about what you're slotting in. So I'm actually going to slot this into my main weapon, and it is slotted. If for whatever reason you messed up or anything of the sort, you're gonna have to buy another tracery and pretty much overlap it. The only way you can remove it and unslot it is for mithril, or there's another item that you'll get in game just over time, mostly by like doing mission weeklies and stuff like that. But pretty much it's costly to unslot one, and at that point it's just kind of not worth the mithril, right? Anyway, so I just slotted that in. That is going to massively obviously increase my own stats, which is amazing, but there are also other fields that I have to go through. So I have 2 words of mastery. These are overall what most people call traceries. These are particular to certain skills for your character or class. So here I actually have a damage and parry chance one, which I'm going to slot because that is really, really nice. And then I'm also going to slot the sweeping cut one because I also use sweeping cut a lot and it's really nice there. Increase my crit. So when I use those skills in particular, in this case, like for sweeping cut, for example, it's actually going to boost up my stats for that particular skill. If you feel like there are skills that you're getting traceries for that you don't necessarily use, I would probably not slot those in if you can avoid it. And you can actually pick and choose more specifically what traceries you want under your particular class shelf in this library, which is why I came here. So as you can see, I am missing a word of craft, but not only that, I still have my entire Guardian's belt to fill up as well. But something that I want to show you real quickly are these enhancement runes. Now these essentially will level up your traceries. As you can see, this is only like a +1 level, as it says 3 enhancement runes +1. So I'm going to just drag and drop this on top of the tracery I want it to upgrade. You can see where your traceries need to be updated or upgraded on the right side here. That's why it has that 51 out of 52 on it. So yes, I'm going to use my enhancements rune, which will gain me only 1 level. You will have other runes that will gain you 2, 3, maybe even 4 levels. This is kind of like a basic rune, so you only get 1 level. So I'm gonna slot that in. Boom! Just like that, my stats have been upgraded furthermore with the enhancement rune. So I'm also going to apply this onto these traceries as well. And just like that, I have capped out everything that I have slotted in so far. So now we're at the point of, oh my gosh, I need more traceries. Well, this is where you won't necessarily have as much ancient script as I do, unfortunately, when you're starting. But if you are someone who has a lot from other characters, you can go into your particular class tracery section. From the section, you can actually go through and pick in particular, I guess, skill upgrades or boosts. So for example, one of the traceries we had was Guardian's Ward, to increase the parry and damage on it. So say you don't use Guardian's Ward, you're like, what the frick skill is that? But you use something else. Maybe you're not a Guardian, but you're like a Runekeeper. Maybe you use more lightning over fire damage stuff. Well, this is where you can go in and pick and choose particularly which one you want to go for. What's nice about these though is that there are general buffs or damage traceries you can pick from. But if you are going for a particular class line, say you are blue line, red line, yellow line, you can actually pick particular skills that go for your line. So here I am Keen Blade, I do more DPS, it is red line. So therefore the skills I have gained from that, I will possibly pick traceries that reflect that to boost up those skills from this class line. So just like here, Brutal Assault, you can see here I only get that from being a red line Guardian. So I'm going to pick that for tracery. So one thing that you'll notice is that there are different, I guess, like tiers, as you can say, for the tracery. So the yellows are like your basic, you only get like the basic stat upgrade. If you go with purple, you can see it's a little bit better. And then obviously like the golden, and then there's blue, but golden's like the best. Pretty much these are like another form of currency that you can find that'll give you these like rarer, we'll say, traceries. But for the time being, I'm just gonna go with the purple one right now because I don't want to use my tracery for this because I don't plan on keeping this character much longer, but I'm just gonna buy a brutal assault damage boost. And just like that, it will be in my inventory. I go back to my character screen, hit shift plus 2 clicks on my left mouse button. And then, oh yeah, right. We only have 2 traceries. Guys, I'm keeping you on your toes. We have to go to our Guardian's Belt. And then I will put one of the Word of Masteries or Tracery into that slot. So just like that, I have now added another boost. So now really the only thing that is left to discuss is the Word of Craft. Where do I get Word of Craft at? Well, it's in this side room. These are just more or less just more like general things that you can have to buff up your character. You will need 2 of them, one for your main legendary weapon and one for your side weapon. Since I no longer have a shield, I'm not going to improve my block rating, but I'll go for physical mastery some more. I like that. Honestly, like, physical mitigation isn't too bad, so I'm going to go for that too. And just like how you do on the Word of Masteries, you are going to just plop them in, just like that, and a plop. Boom, just like that, you're done. And as you level, you will have more Words of Craft, and then you'll eventually get the last one over here, Word of Power. That's also really nice, because that can just increase like more power reduction, or do more for like AoE targets, or just better critical rating on stuff. So I do really like the Word of Power, because those are really good general buffs you can have. But just make sure you keep coming back here every time that you need to reforge your weapon, or if you ever want to, I don't know, like change out certain traceries if you don't use skills as often as you'd like. Just make sure you always come back to your particular class tracery. One thing I'm also going to mention is the legendary item reward track, which it's kind of hidden, but this is very vital, and you can get a lot of great like very limited time collection drops from this. If you go into, I want to make a note of this real quick. Don't go to your legendary items. This is the old legendary panel. Ignore it. It needs to be taken out of the game. I don't know why it's not, but this is the old panel that we used to use back in the day. But if you want to access the reward track, most of the time the default word is Shift plus I on your keyboard. Oh no! I don't have access to it. What? Anyway, in your reward track, there's going to be like different levels, I guess. And you pretty much get reward track item XP when you complete quests or do like missions, for example, that grant you reward item track experience. So that is a particular thing. But that is how you will unlock more enhancement runes. You'll get more ancient script that way. Even when you grind it so much, you will also get like cosmetic pets with it. You'll get housing items, like really cool stuff. So just want to put that out there. It's a really important thing to check out. Shift plus I. Make sure that you go through it rapidly when you can. I think that's pretty much it for the most part. I'm not gonna lie, there are a lot more like specifics for it. There's specific ways that you should be putting things into certain items that you have, but I don't know the specifics on that. I will tell you though, I have a few guides down below I would recommend you check out from other creators that I stand by 100% because they've helped me understand more of the legendary item reward track progress. But of course, if you guys have any other questions, just put it down in the comments and I will respond to it as soon as possible. I hope this wasn't too confusing and too wordy, so if you do have questions, don't hesitate to reach out, okay? I'm always on the comments, y'all. Don't hesitate. But of course, as always, you better stay weird, you weird weirdos.